Today we're going to be talking about business planning. So let me see here. This is going to be a little bit different format than what we normally do, as you see as we go. Before we get started, we're going to do our quick shameless plug. If you're not an agent of the office, if you're watching the recording, please feel free. If you'd like to learn more about this brokerage and what we can do to help you achieve your goals, just scan the QR code, and we would love to have a confidential appointment with you and let you know what we can do to take you to the next level. A quick reminder to please hold your questions for the end. There may be, well, you know what? Let me change this one. This one, we're going to do a different format. We will take live questions on this one out of respect for the people that are here, because business planning is a very big task. I don't know if you've created a business plan in the past. I don't know, even personal goals, financial goals. Goal setting, in itself can be a difficult thing to do. But trying to plan your business for an entire year is, it's something that we do, and then it's something that we just constantly have to keep coming back to. So, there's going to be a lot of concepts here. There's going to be a lot of things here. For some, it may be very familiar. You may understand this at an innate or a high level. And then for others, there may be questions and, things that we need to discuss to help clarify some things. So as we go along, if you have a question, just hit the, raise your hand button right there. And then, I'll finish the thought or finish, whatever it is. And then, we'll be happy to answer any questions. Before we move on. If you want to put something in the chat, feel free, please, to also put that there. But in this one, we are going to encourage questions. We're going to encourage comments, because there's a whole lot here, for us to go over. So again, my name's Joseph Miranda. I'm the broker and owner of Miranda Executive Realty. Now there's going to be some finance stuff in here. Just know, again, that I'm not an accountant. These are, this is the way that I operate my business. These are the ways that I do my own things. But in no way is any of this any financial advice. Please, there's not legal advice in here as well. I'm also not an attorney. So, for legal, financial questions, things like that, don't trust anything that I say. Go back and talk to your attorney. Go back and talk to your accountant. Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. So, just make sure that what I'm saying will actually apply to your business. So this being said, I am going to go ahead and take over the screen now. And let's see, once I get this here, you should be able to see my screen. All right, I believe everybody should be able to see my screen by now. Let's shrink this over here. Do some quick adjusting, and we'll be ready to go. All right, here we go. And you guys see me scribbling on the screen, maybe a little bit here, I think. So, all right, we are all set. So by now, everybody on this call should have received an email with the 2025 business plan. This is exactly what we're going to go through. I'm just going to scroll through. I'm going to explain the theory or the thought behind each area. And this is something that if you print this, or you want to go ahead and download this, if you want to take notes as we go through, again, like all of our Ask the Broker sessions, this is going to be recorded. You can come back and you can go through it. If this is your first year in real estate, if it's not your first year in real estate, but you don't have a whole lot of transactions or volume for 2024, this is going to be difficult to fill out, because your projections, what we recommend is, you would project your business for next year based on the business that you did in the previous year, right? Part of planning is going to be looking at what you've already done and figuring out, okay, how much growth do I want to see, right? And then, so we're going to kind of start with the big picture, and then we're going to move our way backwards, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a recap. If you haven't been tracking your numbers in if you haven't tracked your numbers in 2024, this is going to be a difficult thing to do. But it's not impossible, right? Number one, if you've been calling through our CRM, Sierra, then you should be able to go back and you should be able to find all of this data. If you need help finding this data, just let us know, right? But these are what we call your KPIs, right? And your KPIs, it starts with that very first action, prospecting, right? Prospecting can be calling, prospecting can be door knocking, prospecting can be whatever you want it to be, right? But it's like a gold miner that's mining for gold, right? What do they call it? They call that prospecting, right? So this is what we're doing. So how many hours a day, right? How many hours a week, month, or year? Now you can calculate this in any way. You can start with your day times 7 to get your weekly, day times 30 to get your monthly, day times not 365, right? Well, actually, let me take that back. Day times 5, right? So how many days a week do you work? How many days a month do you work, and how many days a year do you work, right? So use that as a multiplier. Or you can go the other way and you can start at the year. How many days a year do you work, right? And then you can divide as you go along through there, right? It's whichever direction you want to go. You can go left to right. You can go right to left, right? But what you need to figure out is ultimately how many hours a day did you prospect? If if you show up to our hour of power, you should be prospecting at least 1 hour a day, right? So that's going to be 5 hours a week, right? Assuming, let's say there's 4 hours in the month, that would be 20 hours a month. If you work 250 days out of the year, right, which is the average work year roughly, you would have called 250 hours, right? In those hours, how many dials did you make, right? So per day, are you dialing 10 numbers, 20 numbers, 30 numbers? How many are you dialing, right? Out of those dials, how many contacts were made, right? So for every 10 dials, I got 1. So I dialed 3, I made 3 contacts. Out of those contacts, how many turned into appointments? Out of those appointments, right? Appointments or consultations now, right? Because a buyer consultation, that's where you're going to get your agreement signed. So you're going to go from contacts to appointments. How many led to agreements? And then ultimately, how many led to you writing or receiving a sales contract? And then how many of those closed? By the end of this, you should know your numbers, right? So in the month, I dialed, let's say, 20 hours, right? So this month I dialed 20 hours. And in those 20 hours, I dialed 200 phone numbers. And out of those 200 phone numbers, I made 30 contacts. Out of those 30 contacts, I was able to set, 2 listing and 1 buyer consultation. So a total of 3 appointments. 2 of those led to agreements. Both of those wrote a contract and 1 of those closed. So what does that tell you, right? That tells you if you scale what you've done, that you should be, for every 300 phone calls that you make, you should get 1 closing, right? That's all that tells you, right? So now you're going to know, it doesn't have to be phone calls, could be door knocks, could be open houses, could be whatever, right? Just replace, dials with, customers showing up, just replace dials with door knocks, right? Whatever it is. But for every X number of hours that you spend prospecting, or X number of total people met, right, you're going to get X number of closed sales, right? So this helps you to figure out now, okay, so this is how I scaled my business, right? So how does this help? So we're going to come into the future after this, and we're going to look at, if you want to double your business, then you have to double your work if this scales appropriately. Law of large numbers: the larger the number, the more accurate that calculation will be, right? So if you're taking a study of 100 people, you're going to get a certain result. But if you take a study of 1 million people, you're going to get another result. And the study of studying 1 million people is going to be much more accurate than the study that you have of 100 people, right? So this is why we need to know things year over year over year over year. And as you do this throughout the year, right, or as you start tracking these numbers, your KPIs, this is going to get easier for you to comprehend. So what are your conversion rates, right? This is simple math. You can do this on your phone, right? Number of hours dialed divided by, or number of hours divided by number of dials, right? So that's, dials per hour dials divided by contacts. So you're taking this, right? And you're going to figure out what is your conversion rate on each one of these, right? So hours and dials, I'm dialing, whatever. So, 6%, right? 12%, 30%, whatever this is, right? So this is going to tell you what your conversion rate on each of these, right? On your contract, how many of those are closing, right? Wrote 2 contracts, 1 closed, right? You have a 50% conversion rate on contracts. Well, maybe you can improve that, right? You need to know where these metrics are. We have this philosophy, don't stay stuck. By knowing these numbers right here, this is going to tell you where you're stuck, right? You're going to look for the low numbers and you're going to try to figure out how can you improve it, right? You play to your strengths, but you want to improve your weaknesses. I hope that all makes sense so far, right? So another factor, another thing that we're going to look at in a recap of 2024, what did you do well? What were your strengths? What were things that you performed really well in? And this can be anything, right? Now, keep in mind, we are talking about business here, but if you want to take this into, a personal level, a relationship or finance, whatever it is, right? But what were your strengths in 2024? What are the things that you did really, really well? What went great for you, right? Was there a certain type of customer? Maybe your strengths, you figured out, you know what? I'm much better at listings than I am with buyers, right? Negotiating, right? What's your weaknesses? What areas did you figure out that you need to work on? Maybe negotiating is your weakness. It is for a lot of people, right? Strategy and negotiation, because the skills in negotiation and strategy are built over time, right? So go through, figure out what are your weaknesses. Maybe one of your weaknesses, you have a second job, and that cuts into your time doing your prospecting every day, which is ultimately going to lead to less appointments, less contracts, and less closings. Right. So what are your weaknesses? These are the things that we need to address. We're going to play to your strengths, and we're going to address the weaknesses. Right. What were your opportunities? Right. Missed or taken. Maybe you had some listing opportunities that you couldn't go on because of your other job. Maybe you had the opportunity to join a networking group and you did, right? What were your opportunities? What were the things that led to your success? And then what are your threats? Where are the areas that, that pose the largest risk to you in 2024? Maybe it's still that other job, right? Weaknesses, lost opportunities, those might be your threats, right? Maybe it's, your own mindset or your own ability or your own willingness to be held accountable, right? Whatever it is, this is personal, right? This is something that you need to be honest with yourself and figure it out. And again, this is something that we need to come back to throughout the year, right? When you fill out year 1 for 2025, a business plan is something that would really be constantly evolving. It should be constantly, you should constantly be updating your business plan as you go on. So now as we look forward, right, we're not going to look forward to just 2025. We're going to look forward to 2035, right? Business and personal, right? What's your 10-year vision? Where do you see yourself in 10 years in your business? Are you selling full-time? Are you still selling part-time and it's supplemental? Are you, have you built a mega team, right? Have you made, are you making, $1 million a year, right? Are you only selling homes to customers that are in the $1 million plus price range, right? Look at all of your metrics, look at everything. Maybe you've hired an admin, maybe you have a buyer's agent, right? Whatever it is, what's your 10-year vision for your business? Tony Robbins kind of sums it up well when he says, most people are overly optimistic about what they can do in 1 year, right? And under optimistic or pessimistic about what they can do in 10 years, right? So people usually think that they can do more in 1 year than they can, and they usually think that they can do less in 10 years than they actually can. So start with 10 years and be ambitious. 10 years, time goes fast, but 10 years is still a long time to do a lot of things, right? And if we constantly look at the previous year, we look at what we did well, right? And we figure out how does that scale over the next 10 years, then we should be able to come up with a realistic vision, right? And then stretch it. Then personal, right? You're not married. Maybe you want to be married. Maybe, you're married and you don't want to be married. I don't know, right? Whatever that is, savings, retirement, health goals. Do you have health goals? How do you want to be a healthy person in 10 years? Right? Or do you not care? Does none of this matter? Right? Now break it down into 5 years, right? Where are you going to be in 5 years? These are big pictures. These are things, but if you don't know, if you don't know where you're going, right, then you're going to go in any direction. So you need to find a direction. What direction are we going? So in 10 years, I want to have a 10-person team. I want to make $1 million a year, and I want to be able to travel X months out of the year. Great, right? Now, how does that look in 5 years? Right, 5-person team. Maybe by then I should be making $450,000 or $500,000, whatever it is, $700,000, right? Whatever it is, right? Traveling, however long, right? 2 weeks out of the year at least, right? But what does this look like? What are your numbers? This is personal. It's your vision. What do you see? When you think about 10 years from now, where do you want to be? How old will you be? That's going to matter, because a 20-year-old's vision is going to be different than a 50-year-old's vision. So, look at your age. How old am I going to be in 10 years? When I was 30, where did I tell myself I would be when I'm 60, 70, 80? Right? We see real estate agents. It's an older profession. People in real estate are, they're generally a little, higher in age. Why? Because real estate, if we don't plan, if we don't think about the next 10 years in our business, we can just kind of end up doing perpetually the same things that we've done, right? We just keep doing it. We grow comfortable, making $100,000 a year, not saving, right? Not thinking about, at some point, yeah, you know what? I probably do need to retire. Do you have an IRA? Do you have more than one IRA? Do you have a rental property? Do you have investment property, right? Are you going to supplement your income? What's going to happen there, right? So then we're going to break that vision, and now we're going to have a mission for ourselves. Right? Create a mission statement for your business. And if you're not sure exactly how to create a mission statement, I'll tell you what you do. You go on ChatGPT. You tell ChatGPT, ask me 20 questions to help me create a mission statement for my real estate business. And it's going to ask you all of these things. Right? What are your values? What are your, I don't know, what this, what that, right? But ChatGPT will take the hard work out of it for you. It will ask you these things that are important to you. And it'll send you a mission statement that is probably pretty close in line to what you were thinking when you answered those questions. Right? And if it ends up being too long, compress that down to 4 sentences. Compress that down to 3. Make that sound better. Right? ChatGPT is an amazing tool. Everybody should be using it, right? Especially when you get stuck on writing a mission statement, right? Now your vision, ChatGPT, I don't know, right? Figure out the areas. You can ask it, what areas should I be thinking about to write my vision plan, right? But I don't know if you want ChatGPT writing it, right? Maybe ask it. Ask me 20 questions to create my vision plan, right? And your mission is going to help you accomplish that vision, right? So you first have to have the vision, because that's your big picture. Where do I see myself? Your mission is how you fulfill that vision, right? It's what that's going to look like. How are you going to behave to fulfill that vision? Values. What are some core values, right? What are some non-negotiables that you have in your business? The ones, these 5 over here, these are just examples, right? But think about things for yourself in your business that are really important. Right, one of the values that we always talk about or that I always talk about when I train, right? Everything we do must be legal, ethical, and moral. Those are my values, right? And so now I know when somebody says something to me, right, or they want me to do something, and it's not ethical, right? It's unethical. If you're a NAR, an agent, a realtor with NAR, they have the code of ethics. So we already know exactly, right? Oh, well, I don't want this demographic, looking at my house. Well, that goes against my core values, because that's unethical. If I say I'm only going to behave ethically, then I have to follow that code of ethics. Sorry, I can't do that. Well, then you can't list my house. Okay, then I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it worked out this way. If something changes, please let me know. Right? But your values will help you make decisions quicker. It'll help you decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. Not sure what values are? Just Google core values. Find the ones that are most important to you. Start with a bunch and then narrow them down. Right? Come up with 5 to 10. These are my core values. Right? These are the values that are going to drive my business. These are the values that are going to drive the vision and the mission for my business. Right? Speaking of drive, what drives you? There's a difference. So what we find in real estate is there's a difference between drive and motivation. Motivation, a lot of people start something because they're motivated. Right? They do a lot of things they're motivated. We used to talk, we spoke about this a lot in the beginning of the year, and then it kind of went away. But we need to know the difference between drive and motivation. Drive it's a no matter what, I'm going to do this, can do type of mindset. I'm driven. If you're driven, there's nothing that's going to take you off the track. Right? I am just stinking driven, and no matter what happens, I'm going to see this through. Motivation, you're going to hit a roadblock, and maybe you're not so motivated anymore. Nah, I'm not motivated anymore. I don't want to get out of bed. Right? People that first start calling in the power hour, I hear it all the time. Right? Nobody's answering. The people that are answering are, they're not friendly. There's wrong numbers. Right? You would just, and it's all of these negative things. They are motivated to show up to the power hour, but they're not driven to get through the difficult parts of the calls, right? To get to that ultimate vision. Drive will pull you through because there's nothing that will stop you, right? I'm going to call and call and call and call until I set 10 follow-ups or 1 appointment, right? That's drive. Motivation is, I'm going to call, oh, it got hard, I don't want to do it anymore, right? Maybe you show up the next day, you're motivated, but you need to find drive. Drive is what's going to pull you through. Motivation might get you out of bed in the morning, but drive is what's going to make you successful. Questions for yourself? Just ask yourself this, right? These are just yes, no. If any of these, right? Do I need a mentor? If yes, then let us know. Do you need a scripting partner when you make calls? If yes, then let us know. Do you go to the power hour? No, you can show up. Are you coming to the trainings? No, you can show up. Roundtable? No, you can show up. Do you stay stuck? That's a big one. That's a big one, right? So when something happens in your business and you're not sure what to do, or you don't know what to do next, or you don't know what to say, do you reach out to somebody, or do you have the mindset of, I don't want to bother anybody? Right? Well, that's staying stuck. Should be popping in with us. There's plenty of opportunities, right? Mentor, you come to the power hour, you can come to the round table, right? You can pop in the lobby room, you can reach a broker, you can reach the admin. There's every single one of these is an opportunity to get unstuck, to pull yourself out of the mud. Every single one of these. So, to stay stuck, there's just no reason, right? Now, a lot of the faces in this training right now, they reach out quite a bit, and we're always happy to hear from you. And I hope that you find value when you're in any of these areas, right? But this is your own accountability to yourself. And I can tell you the people that do these things are the ones that are most successful. We're not saying do all of them 100% of the time, all the time, right? Not everybody needs a mentor. Not everybody even wants to cold call that needs a scripting partner. Not everybody wants to go to the power hour. You can't go to every Ask the Broker. You can't go to every round table, right? But you should never stay stuck. And you should know the lobby room, the broker, and the admin are always going to be there to help you, right? So that second half, there's no reason to fail in any of those. The top half, do the best you can, right? But if you want to grow, right, these are the areas where you can find that growth, right? If you sit in this training with me for 1 hour and I said 100 things, and out of those 100 things, you already knew 98 of them, but there were just 2 things that you learned in there, that you apply to your business, those two things will make that hour worth it, right? If you already know all of this, but maybe later on down the line here, you stick with me and you listen, right? Maybe there's something, down the line here that can teach you something that you can apply to your business, that maybe you're more efficient, maybe you're more effective, right? Maybe you can go into it with more knowledge, right? Maybe you came in here like, oh, I didn't even know there was a power hour room, right? Well, maybe pop in, come say hi, right? We always focus on the new people in our power hour room. I'll ask you, because the people that come every day, they've heard it all. But the new people, it's the opportunity, number one, for the new person to learn something, and number two, for the experienced people to hear it again, right? So I'll ask the new person, what list are you calling today? Okay, here's what you need to be prepared for. Here's how you need to go about this. What script are you going to use? Here's how you need to think about that. Here's how you need to this, right? What's your goal for the day, right? Maybe you should think about a different type of goal. Maybe you should think about something a little bit differently, right? What do you think about this? Right? It might take 15 minutes. It might take 30 minutes. But there's a lot of knowledge that comes out in just that little bit of time that anybody in there, even experienced, that's already heard it 10 times before, might need to hear that again, just as a refresher, right? And it's an open format. Ask a question, give a thought, right? Give an opinion. Tell me why it doesn't work for your business. Tell me, why this is great and it's amazing, whatever it is, right? It's open format, right? And then your why, right? Are you committed to your why, right? Why is this essential for your success, right? Why is your commitment essential for your success? So let's talk about a value proposition. So these questions here should help you when you're speaking with the customer, right? They should help you when you're thinking about your customers. They should help you, to define who you are a little bit better as a realtor, right? What sets you apart as a realtor? That's huge, right? Because we all, you sat through a 63-hour licensing course, that doesn't set you apart, because we've all done that. You have access to the MLS, we've all done that, right? I know how to find, great deals. Okay, that's a little different, right? But maybe elaborate on that a little bit more. I know how to find great investment properties. I know how to analyze numbers on an investment property, right? So start thinking about what sets you apart. You already know your values, right? If you get stuck and they say, well, how many homes did you sell last year, right? You can always lean on the company, right? The company offers you their metrics. You can say, well, last year we sold, I don't know how many homes we sold this year. I think it's going to be quite a bit, I think. But how many homes, what does my company offer, right? What do we offer that can help you sell more homes? I can tell you our new CRM that we're about to bring on sometime in the beginning of December. It's going to be released to everybody in the office. Is going to offer a lot, right? More than the one that we have right now, right? Ask yourself, do you like buyers or sellers more? Right? Which one do you prefer? Personally, I prefer sellers. I don't like buyers. Right? Not that I don't like them, I just don't prefer them. Right? What resources do you have available to you? Whether through the office, through the association, right? Through your own means, through family, through friends, right? Who or what do you have available? What hours are you going to work? Not everybody wants to work evenings and weekends. Well, set that expectation up front. I don't work Saturdays. Sorry, I just don't. I know you're only available Saturdays, but I just don't. Right? Why? Because we have to respect our own time. Right? Strengths, talked about that. Do you have a specialty? Do you have a niche? Right? How do you build trust with your clients? Communication, right? Updates, follow up. I don't know, whatever that is, right? What does your client success look like? They bought a house. Well, yeah, great. Maybe they bought a house that they love. Maybe they buy, properties that, turn into generational wealth for them, right? Even better, right? But what is your goal for your client to have success? And what keeps you committed in your real estate career, right? What things when you're feeling down, look, I have my feel sorry for me days. We take a day and, it's a tough day. Get kicked in the teeth, right? All day. Everybody yells at us and tells us everything that we did wrong. We just feel like, oh my God, or we have a tough customer and we feel like we're just letting them down, right? Well, what gets you back up in the morning, right? Like, what do? Right? Do you exercise, yoga, meditation, spend some time with family, take a day to just woe is me, right? Feel sorry for yourself in that day. Whatever it is, right? Write that down. What gets you through? It's good to know these things, right? It's good to know these things. Units and goals. All right. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we're going to figure out last year, current year, right? 2024 compared to incoming year 2025, right? So we're going to look at each of these different areas, right? And this doesn't cover everything. So we've got some blank areas down here. You can write in your own, whatever we missed, because everybody's business is a little bit different. Everybody gets customers from different areas. We filled out a couple. But how many sellers did you get from a company lead in this year? How many sellers from an online lead? Geographic leads, open house? You're just going to write those down. Then buyers, right? Then buyers, right? You're going to fill in whatever number it is that applies, right? Same thing down here, right? You're going to figure out these, right? So what percentage is sellers? What percentage is buyers, right? Put your numbers from last year, right? Total sales volume. What do you want your total sales volume for sellers and buyers to be next year? These are just big numbers. You don't have to think about anything yet. I want to double my business, right? Or maybe you want to say, okay, so you want to say, are your goals, are they going to be units based or are they going to be volumes based? When you say double your business, I sold 10 houses, it was $1 million. So I want to double it, right? Is that 20 houses, $2 million? Or is that just, 20 houses, but I want to sell $3 million, right? Or 10 houses and I want that to be $2 million, right? So you have to figure out, right, when you come over to this side over here, figure out, do you want to do more units or do you want to do more volume? Because they're not the same thing. The units are the number that you sell or rent, right? The volume, it's a dollar amount, right? One house that you sold for $1 million is one unit and it's $1 million in volume, right? What's GCI? Gross commission income. $1 million at 3% commission is going to be $30,000 gross commission income, right? Does everybody get 3% commission? No. What commission do you get? Right? What is your average commission for last year? Right? Because that's what we're putting right here. Was it 2.5, 2.7, 1.3? Because if you want to increase your income, maybe you can start by learning how to negotiate commission better. Right? So, but you don't know until you put down where you're at. It's good to know where you want to go, but if you're looking at a map and you say, okay, I want to go to Paris, France, and it's right there on the map, but you don't know where you're at, right? You don't know that you're in Colombia, and now you're like, well, how do I get to Paris from here, right? Like, you got to at least know what direction you're going to go. You got to know that you probably need a boat or a plane to get there, right? You're not going to drive there. So, you need to know first, start with what you know. What do you know? You know what you did in 2024. Then start thinking about, what do I want to do in 2025? What areas do I want to improve in? I don't want to work harder, right? I sold 12 houses in 2024 and that about killed me. I almost died selling 12 houses. I don't want to double my business and sell 24 houses, right? But I sold 12 houses at an average sales price of $400,000. I want to double my business and sell 12 houses at $800,000. right? So these are the goals, right? Because once you start thinking about, and then, I did 50% buyers, 50% sellers. Well, I figured out the sellers actually gave me more leverage because when I was up here filling this out, 3 of my buyers that I got actually came from an open house for a seller that I had, right? So this helps you to look at your business. Where did your business come from? What did those numbers look like? Where do you want to do better, right? Take that 30,000. This is that 30,000 foot view of your business. Some areas you're just fine. The agent that wants to sell 12 houses but wants to double their business, you don't need to work on selling more houses. You need to figure out, okay, well, now where's that $800,000 house at? Right, I need to list that. That's the house I need to go after, right? And you got to go find that house. You got to figure it out. And it's not easy, right? It's simple, but it's not easy, right? I make it sound like, okay, yeah, you can just go out and do it. It takes work. Same thing here, right? What's the difference? Renters and rentals. Because not everybody works just in purchases and sales. Some people work with renters and rentals, and they want to set goals for these same things. And it's the exact same thing, right? And maybe you want to maybe you want to work with less renters. Maybe you want to work with less rentals. Maybe you want more rentals because you want to work with more landlords. Maybe you know a lot of landlords, right? Maybe you know a lot of landlords, and you know that you have the opportunity to do a lot more business. There's people that have a business model that involves only rentals and renters. It's all they do, right? It's kind of the low-hanging fruit because less people want to do it. But it's the same thing, right? You want to double that number. So then what are we going to do? We're going to look at when our business comes in, right? The seasonality of your business. Because real estate isn't necessarily something that, you can bank on. I sold 12 houses a year. So that means that I sold 1 per month throughout the entire year. Not necessarily how it works. Hold on, my cat is out. Go, kitty. Okay, sorry about that. Real estate is not something that 12 houses does not equal, 1 per month. Those 12 houses, maybe January, February, you did 0, right? You're just like, ugh, right? Does that mean you did nothing January, February, or March? No. But maybe April, May, June, you did 6. Well, what did you do in January, February, March to get those 6 in April, May, June? So now what are you doing? You're figuring out, when are my hot seasons, right? Because this means, and then what else, right? July, August, September, maybe you did another 0. And then October, November, December, you did another 6. Why does your business look like this? Right? Think about, what was I doing in January, February? Oh, I know what I was doing. I was prospecting because I didn't have any business. I was out there meeting everybody. I was networking. What happened April, May, June? I was going crazy because I had all these listings and I had all these buyers, right? That I didn't have, that's all I was doing. I was driving people around. I was showing houses. I was calling. I was negotiating, going to inspections, right? Doing all these things. But then July, August, September, my business died down again. So I was prospecting again. But then that got me busy again in October, November, December. Well, what does that trend tell you? Right? That trend tells you that you're working so hard here to get business. Then you're over here and you're getting business. So you're not doing here what you did here. I don't think my little color thing is working here. But you're working in the first quarter, prospecting, trying to get leads. Second quarter, you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. Third quarter, you were enjoying your fruits of your labor so much, you were no longer farming and tilling your fields and doing the things to produce fruit. So you went back and you did it in the third quarter. Then fourth quarter, right? That's why you go from rich to poor, rich to poor, rich to poor, right? Figure out your. Maybe you specialize in snowbirds. So, you know, the first and the fourth quarter, or the fourth and first quarter are your busy times, right? Because it's snowbirds. Well, where can you get more business in the second and third quarter? Right? Where are those buyers? Where are those sellers at? Where's the opportunity in the months that you didn't have anything going on? Right? So these are things that, as you do this every year, first year, again, it's overwhelming. It's a lot. This is a lot, right? There's a lot to look at. There's a lot to take in. But as you do this year over year, you're going to really get to understand your business at a higher level. I fill these out every year. Sometimes I'm better at going back throughout the year and looking at these and reviewing them. Other times I'm not, right? What we're probably going to start is doing either quarterly or biannual reviews of our business planning as part of these Ask the Broker sessions, right? Or we'll just remind you, take a quarterly review. Really, you should be looking at this every month, if not every week, because this is going to bring you back to your goals. And it's also going to help you adjust, right? So now we're looking at 2025. Same thing as 2024, except now these are your goals, right? Last year, I prospected 1 hour a day. Well, I want to double my business, and I'm okay if I double my units or my volume just by any means necessary. I just want to double the amount of money that I made every year. So I'm going to double the amount that I prospect. If it scales, that's logical. Maybe it doesn't scale, but you don't know it until you've done it, right? Maybe now it scales larger than you thought, right? Maybe it's not, you know, maybe it becomes an exponent, right? Where it's not 1 + 1 is 2, because your skills are probably better. If you just started calling in 24 and now you're taking, and then you learned all these lessons, you did all these things, you figured out what works for you, what doesn't work, the scripting, the hours, the time, the list that you're better at, right? The type of lead that you're better at, right? And then you bring that into 2025. If you double your average daily prospecting time, your other numbers might more than double, right? You may not get more dials, you may not get more contacts, but you may get more appointments, and you may get more contracts, and you may get more closings, right? And when you do this from last year, and then you look at it, from this year, and you look at it going into next year, you can already watch your trends, because you could do this anytime. Every day you can look at your conversion rates, every single day, right? So how many hours did I dial, right? And then how many numbers did that lead to? Maybe you went from hand dialing to single line dialer, maybe to a triple line dialer, right? Well, how many of those dials were valid contacts? Maybe you figured out how to get a better, whatever, right? How many of those contacts led to listing appointments or buyer consultations? Your conversion rate went up, right? So as you look at these things, you can do it on a daily basis. You can do it weekly, monthly, yearly. When the month is over, go back and put all your numbers in. You'll be amazed what you find out about your business, right? What gets measured gets done. So if you're measuring your success, again, same thing as 24, right? But what are your strengths coming into 25, right? Same strengths, different strengths, I don't know. What are your weaknesses coming into 25? What were your weaknesses in 24? You should not have all of the same weaknesses in 24 that you do in 25. Well, I'm busier now, so I don't have as much time to do prospecting. Okay, what can we do to address that, right? What opportunities do you have coming into 25? And what threats coming into 25? Some of them may be the same, but they shouldn't all be the same, right? So you have to discern what's what. Looking at money, right? Because there's two forms of equity in life. There's sweat equity and there's checkbook equity. A lot of what we've been talking about up till now is your sweat equity. Because if you're cold calling, we have all the leads you need. You don't need to spend money on a dialer, on a CRM, on email campaigns. You don't need to spend money on leads. We have all of that. new leads, old leads, for sale by owner, expired, online leads, buyer leads, seller leads. It doesn't matter. We have it all. Renter leads. Doesn't matter. Did I say for sale by owner? Probably. Right. We have all those. You don't need to spend money on those. But there's other things maybe that you'll need to spend money on. Right. As when we get this new CRM, it'll post to social media for you. It's got AI capabilities that it'll send, automated things to buyers and sellers. You don't need to spend money on those things. We already have that for you. But that's not what we're budgeting. What we're budgeting here is the stuff that the brokerage necessarily doesn't take care of for you. Right? So how much per month are you willing to allocate for marketing and to leads? And if these are zero, then they're zero. If you say, look, I don't have any money to invest. Okay, then don't invest any money. Can you do any of these with your hours? Right? So what's your hourly marketing budget? How many hours, right, will you spend on these things? Doesn't have to be dollars, it can be hours. So a lot of these will be dollars and hours, right? So, but this is for you to figure out. This is where you need to stop and think about, what does my business look like for 2025? How much money or time am I willing to invest? How much money and time am I willing to invest? Right? And again, we left some blank spots. You can go in, fill out whatever you want to put there. It's your business. You can do whatever you want with it. Right? You can spend your time, you can spend your money wherever you want. What tools will you implement in 2025? We give you a CRM, but what I know is not every agent uses our CRM. And that's okay. You don't have to use our CRM. If you want to use your own, that's fine. Do you pay for it? What does it cost? Right? MLS. What MLS are you going to use? Well, that's not free. Right? Forms, you have Form Simplicity, Transaction Desk. Do they come with a cost? Are you paying for accounting? Your back office system, which we use, we have our back office system you're more than welcome to use, but not everybody uses it. Cloud, automation, AI. What else? What other tools do you have? Right? If you don't use Google Drive for your cloud storage, maybe you use Dropbox. We don't pay for Dropbox. We do give you Google Drive, 2 terabytes of storage with your company email. If you don't use it, you pay for it somewhere else. Well, if you're paying for these things, maybe you could think to yourself, well, maybe I could cut those and just start using the ones that the company provides. Or you don't want to. Doesn't matter to me. Right? It costs me the same. Once you have a budget and you have kind of a, big picture, nothing, this is big picture, right? Then you're going to break it down. You're going to figure out what are the things that you're going to do on a regular basis. And these are just examples here. Again, we're just kind of giving you examples, but maybe every year you want to do a client appreciation event. And you're going to do it on March 25th, 2025. Maybe every quarter, because you have a geo farm, you're going to give them some promo item, right? Some sort of, sunglasses or a notebook or a calendar, a sports schedule, school calendar, whatever it is, right? You're going to send that out, drop that off, do whatever first week of every quarter. Right? And then monthly, you're going to mail postcards. By the third of every month, you're going to do postcards. Right? Weekly, you're going to check your follow-ups. Maybe weekly, you call your farm. Right? Maybe weekly, you say, I'm going to go knock on 100 doors every week in my farm. Right? Daily, prospecting. Right? What are the things that you're going to do? Right? What does your schedule look like? Write it down. Right? A lot of these, for the example of geo farming, you could do something annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily for your geo farm. Right? Maybe you got through the list, right? For your prospecting for your geo farm, so you don't have to call it every day anymore. Right? But maybe you want to go through that list every quarter. Right? But if you're going to go through that list every quarter, it's still going to reflect in your monthly, weekly, daily. Right? Or maybe you spread out, I've got 1,200 houses that I need to call in my geo farm. And I want to call them each, 4 times a year. Well, you got to get to the list quarterly. Right? You got to and then break it down to monthly. How many do you have to call a week based on that? Maybe a day. I don't know. It's up to you, right? It's your business. And you figure out your lead sources. Where are you getting your leads from? I think we provide all of these, right? And then what's the conversion rate of a lead? This is really important to know if you're going to figure out your numbers. Because if you start calling, if you say, okay, I'm going to use Z-Buyer leads, and you expect that by calling a Z-Buyer lead, you're going to have a listing in 2 weeks. It may not work out that way because we know that these leads take time. They take a lot of follow-up, right? But maybe you say you want to call a FSBO or an expired, right? They're going to convert at a lot higher rate. They're harder to convert, right? Don't forget your past clients. Don't forget your sphere. Where else are you getting leads? Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, right? Where else are you getting them? Just categorize them. So this is going to give you an idea of what your expectations should be, right? Set your own expectations. How long is this going to take to convert? All right, and then how much is all of this going to cost? Figure out your personal expenses, right? How much money do you need to make? By the end, you should have allocated or you should have accounted for 100% of your budget. If you have $5,000 a month to pay all of this stuff, well, then every dollar should be accounted for. Do we all do it? No. Right? What about your business expenses? Because there are business expenses. Right? Figure that out. You need to have a budget. Now, how much money do you want to make? And where's that money going to go? Again, similar, right? But how much, GCI do you want to make in a year? Do you have any other income? Right? All right. Well, you need a salary, right? I make $100,000 in GCI, whatever. My total monthly or my total annual income is $144,000. Well, you got $12,000 to spend, right? And figure out where those $12,000 are going to go, right? Once you figure all that out, right? So you have a look, and this are just numbers that we put in here. If you make $144,000 in the year, how much have you set aside for for taxes, right? Personal account. Oh, this should be not in there. No, pre-tax savings, because that's over here. So maybe you want to take 40% for your personal, right? That's your salary for you to pay for your personal expenses. Maybe you want to put 25% into your business. You got to put something back into your business. You should be, right? And then maybe you're going to set aside 35% for taxes. Maybe. These are maybes, right? So how much are you going to take for your salary to pay your bills? How much are you going to keep in your business account to keep your business going? And how much are you setting aside for taxes to make sure that when Uncle Sam comes knocking, you can pay that bill, right? I can tell you there was a one point in my life, this was many years ago, I didn't set aside money for my taxes based on the money that I had made. And I had a big shock, and I had to write a very, very big unexpected check to Uncle Sam when my accountant did my tax bill. And I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of money, right? But if you set it aside over as you get the income, it's not so shocking. Make sure the money that you put aside for Uncle Sam, it should at least be in like a high yield savings account or something that you're earning some interest on. Don't just put it into a checking account, and don't commingle it with your money. Set it somewhere else where you don't touch it, where you don't look at it. Then when you have to write that check to Uncle Sam, it's not so painful. And then your liquidity, right? What is your true liquidity? How much cash do you have on hand? How much is available? How much debt, right? And this is just a bonus here, but this is figure out your tasks. Maybe 1 week, every few minutes, write down what you just did. Every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, write down what you just did, right? And then figure out where it falls in this matrix. I love this matrix, right? Because this helps you figure out when you should do it. Urgent and important, you should do it now. Do it right now. This is urgent. This is important, right? I have to call and I have to follow up with a lead to set an appointment. That's urgent and important, right? Urgent and not important, let somebody else do it, right? Maybe you have a TC for a transaction that just needs to follow up with some timelines, right? It's urgent, not necessarily important, but we just want to make sure that it doesn't become important by, letting this go down the road. Let your TC do it, right? Important and not urgent. These are the things, when you say not urgent, it gives us the idea that it's not important. But the important and not urgent are the things that move our lives and they move our business. Understand that, right? These are the things that, they get pushed down the road because they're not urgent, and the urgent always gets pushed to the front because it's urgent, it needs to be done right now. But the important and not urgent. You know what's important but not urgent? Going in for your annual checkup with your doctor, right? That's not urgent. You don't have to do that right now. There's no deadline on your annual checkup. The doctor probably will not even call you and say, hey, Joe, I haven't seen you in for your annual checkup. If your doctor called you for that, then you got a good doctor. Stick with that person. That or they just need the business. Doesn't matter what it is, I would take that phone call. Blood work. When you go in, oh, well, now we're going to send you out for your blood work. And nobody calling you to schedule that blood work, you got to do that. Is it important? I would say, yeah, that might be the most important thing. Is it urgent? No. Right? Because there's no deadline on it, usually. So you schedule it. Let's schedule it. Right? What's something in your business that's important and not urgent? What about the postcards when you have a geo farm? You could not do it, and nobody would know the difference. Right? So it's not urgent, but is it important? Yeah, because you're building your brand. And then finally, if it's not urgent and it's not important, why is it even on your list? Right? I don't know what that would be. Not urgent, not important. But, if it falls into that category, then it's not going to be important and it should just come off your list. But it is there. So appreciate everybody. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions on the business plan? Any thoughts on the business plan? Anything that we can clarify or help you with? All right, love it. So growth may be painful, but it's the key to success, right? When our kids are growing up, they have what's called growing pains. They're a real thing, I think. I think I had them, I believe. I know that I think my kids had them. Doesn't seem like a real thing, but growing pains are a real thing, and that applies to our business as well, right? But if you have a plan, then the pain doesn't have to be so bad. Again, don't stay stuck. Pop in with us. If you're going through this and you have a question, you can always pop in with us in the lobby. We'll help clarify it. And we're always happy to take any feedback. If there's something in this business plan that maybe seems confusing and you think could be laid out better, if there's something that's not in the business plan that you think would be helpful for us to add, we'll be happy to add that as well. So, any feedback, let us know in a loving and caring way. We like, positive feedback. We like constructive criticism. So again, for the agents that are watching this that are not MX agents, please scan the QR code, reach out to us, and we'd love to get to know you. So 2 weeks from now, we will be having our next Ask the Broker. And this one, I believe we're going to have a guest speaker. Irene, is that right?
Yep, appraiser.
Yeah. 2 weeks from now is going to be a really, really awesome training, I think, because we have an appraiser coming in. And she's an appraiser that I know pretty well. I've known her for a lot of years. She's been doing it for a long time, longer than some of the agents in our office have been doing it. So she knows how to value a property, right? She does not come cheap. She works for developers and, some pretty, big names. So we're excited to have her come in. And what's she going to teach us? How to do an appraisal, right? How does an appraiser value a property? How does that help us? Because the CMA is not an appraisal, right? But if we could take an appraiser's approach when doing a CMA, how much more accurate is that appraisal going to be? So I'm really excited about it. I haven't spoken with an appraiser actually about these things in a long time. So I hope you all can make it December 10th. In the meantime, don't stay stuck. If you need anything, please, please, please pop in with us, guys. That's all I got. Thank you all. Take care.